What's up YouTube, Cliff here from the Sunday Drive, and today we're going to give you a 2-year update on my Coverking seat covers. So these seat covers have been in the truck for about 2 years and about 50,000 miles of use, and they've held up really well. I do have some comments on them, but before we get into that review, I have a confession. So you may have watched our other installation video, which I'll have linked right here. This video may come down eventually, but for now it'll be linked right here. So when I initially installed these seat covers, actually not these particular ones, but we'll get to that. When I installed the seat covers originally, my brother and I had both ordered seat covers for our vehicles. He has a 2016 WRX and I have my 14 Silverado. My seat covers shipped, I got the notification, I got the box, I was all excited, but I didn't pay attention to the labeling. I put them on, and if you watch that video, you notice that we said, well, these are kind of snug and tight, but hey, they work, they fit. A couple months later, we finally get around to installing seat covers on my brother's WRX, and we have extra parts when I open the box. So also in my video, I said there was not a cover for the center console in my truck. That was wrong. What happened was I installed my brother's seat covers into my truck. So the interesting thing was they actually held up really well, even though my seats are significantly larger than a WRX's. Some of the seams did stretch out, but nothing ripped. And my brother has since had those installed in his WRX for almost 2 years as well, and they're still holding up really well, even though they were initially installed on seats that were way too large for them. So I think it's a plus to the seat covers, but just make sure that you got the right seat covers when you open up your package. Take the time to actually read your labeling. But let's get to the review of these and show you guys how they're holding up. So let's start off with the part we left out of our last video and show you the cover for the center console. Right off the bat, we have this cover up top. Now the fitment on this is not great. I have had this folded up because I don't use it in my truck just because I'm not a fan of the fitment. But as you can see, it doesn't quite go on here. Coverking could definitely improve upon this design. In their defense, there is limitations to how much you can hold something on here if you don't block this bottom area right here. Kudos to them that they tried, but it's really hard to get something that would fit and work well on here. It does make this a little softer for resting your arm, so there's a plus, but personally, I choose not to use this. And again, it's just a strap that holds that in place. So we'll get that out of the way. So as we lift up the center console here, we have our backrest and our seat, and as you can see, both of these covers fit really well. I have no complaints about them. It's really nice having a cover on the bottom here. I've spilled some drinks and stuff with the center console right here, and this has protected my seats really well. It also adds a nice thick cushion if you do have somebody sitting here, because these center seats are hard as a rock. So a little bit of extra cushioning there for anybody sitting. The way this installs is it has Velcro strips along the bottom that Velcro to the inside of this lid or seat, and it just fits on here really well. No issues with it closing, no interferences with the latch. Just works well. The top also stays on here really well. Have had no problems with this coming off. This is installed with a couple of plastic trim clips that go into the side here between the insert and the outer wall of your center console. There's one on each side. There's also one for the back. However, I found that it doesn't really stay in place well with opening and closing this lid, as well as lifting up the seat to access the storage underneath. So I have just decided to leave that tab in the back, just uninstalled, but it doesn't really affect the functionality of that center console cover. So let's get to the part of this video that you guys clicked for. How are these seat covers holding up after 50,000 miles? So on the driver's side, where they are getting the most use, they have held up really, really well. There's no stretching or really any really major signs of wear. This bubble right here is actually from the seat underneath. It's not part of the seat cover. The side bolstering, where you get the most wear coming in and out of the vehicle, has a tiny bit of wear, but again, after 50,000 miles, these have held up really well. None of the seams are ripping. Right here, there's a little bit of a stretch in the seam, but again, there's no tears or rips in any of the seams. Some people have said that the outer layer or the top layer sometimes separates from the bottom layer. I haven't experienced that anywhere on these seat covers. I'm not sure if they've improved over time. Now, some people do get the NeoSupreme seat covers, and they are not as good as the Neoprene seat covers. So these are their higher end cover, and these ones have held up really well. I actually have their NeoSupreme seat covers in my Camaro, and I'm going to do a review of those as well, and you can click those from the link above. Those have definitely taken a bit more abuse, and they're not looking nearly as good as these. So if you're going to go either NeoSupreme or Neoprene, definitely recommend the Neoprene. These have held up much better than the other ones. One thing to note, these are actually a one-piece design. So if you watch the installation video that we did originally on my truck, we installed this as two pieces. Again, that was because it was for my brother's car. This installs basically the same way, except your back is now connected to your bottom, which is nice because any dirt or debris that gets in here gets trapped here, and you can just suck that out with a vacuum. Otherwise, the installation is pretty much the same. You have straps that run from the front to the back that pull this bottom tight. Something else to note, if you watch that installation video, these are the right headrest covers finally, so they fit much, much better. However, the fitment still isn't perfect. You can see you still kind of have some gaps here. You can either kind of push this gap to the back or pull it more to the front, depending on how you rotate the headrest cover, but it does make this a lot softer. It's much nicer to put your head against. But as I said, these fit much better than the ones for the WRX. So you don't have to worry about those being too tight and not fitting correctly anymore. So we still have pockets at the back of the seat covers, keep some paperwork in there, and then these just attach. As I said, they're one piece now with the front, so you slip it down on. There's a Velcro strip right along here that Velcros to the back of the seat, and then there's a couple of straps that go underneath and just kind of clip onto whatever you want to help hold this back tight. You can see the back has a really nice fitment, so it hugs the seat pretty tightly and nicely and definitely protects it. I carry a lot of tools and stuff in the rear of my truck, and this keeps the back of the seats from getting scratched up. This flap right here is for your airbag to make sure that that can deploy safely. Not the best fitment. You can kind of push it in there a little bit better, but you want your airbag to be able to deploy, so that's a nice feature to have in your seat cover. So another question people usually have is, how do these hold up to staining? I actually had a gallon of milk spill in my passenger seat that I was bringing home. Fortunately, not the entire gallon, but I had a good-sized stain on the seat that I didn't get to clean up for a few days. When I came back to it, I just took a damp rag with some Dawn dish soap, wiped it down, and it cleaned up phenomenally. I don't see any evidence of a stain ever being on here. So that's a really nice benefit to have. Obviously, if you get something more like ink or something on here, that's probably not going to come off, but most things that you're going to spill in a truck should come off of here pretty well. I've also had my dog like up on the center here after giving her a bath, and this has gotten wet. I've just popped it off. The seat underneath was completely dry, and I dried it off, let it air dry, and then popped it back in here. And again, it protected the seat really well from any water. These are supposedly waterproof. Didn't have any of the milk or my dog's wetness get through the seat underneath, so I think they are. So definitely hold up well to staining and abuse. Another common question is how much does this go in? Obviously there's a little bit of a bubble in here, but this stretches out really nicely. Again, if you watch the installation video, this was much more significant because there were the wrong seat covers on here. But this sits back really nice. It doesn't bother me at all while I drive, and it makes the seat actually a lot softer. So no complaints there. So very happy with how these seat covers have held up. Definitely recommend them, and I'm eventually going to install the matching set on my rear seats in the truck as well. They've done a phenomenal job in protecting my seats. As I mentioned, I'm also going to do a video review on the NeoSupreme seat covers. Those have been in my Camaro for about 6 years, and I'm actually planning to replace those with some NeoSupreme, or yeah, not NeoSupreme. I'm going to replace them with some Neoprene seat covers in the near future, because those NeoSupreme ones are definitely end of life, as you guys will see in the video, but they did a good job for the time that I had them in there. If you guys have any comments or questions, please leave them below. And if you don't know, I have a ton of other videos on my truck on the channel. There's over 30 videos up right now of DIY guides, as well as a lot of different upgrades I've done to the truck over the last couple of years. So check those out. Let me know if you guys have any video suggestions of things you'd like to see on the truck. And we will see you guys here back next time on the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching.